There you go. You guys just oh shit. I really gotta move that. I don't know why the fuck it keeps going over there. This one was an hour. This shit is going over to the goddamn side. Alright, let's check out this before we buy video.
Bye. That show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. It's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Crimson Desert. There's been a lot of hype about this big, splashy open world game, man. It's been in development by Korean studio Pearl Abyss for many years now,
Yeah,
with
like
some
hella
incredible looking
years.
visuals, but hype can be a dangerous thing. Now, how is the game actually? Is it actually fun to play? Well, it certainly is. Crimson Desert is inspired clearly by so many other big games from like The Witcher to Skyrim to Tears of the Kingdom to even a little Monster Hunter, manages to feel like a unique experience. Sometimes it's a weird experience, and I think some types of gamers are just gonna completely be turned off by some of it or just nope out. But ultimately, this feels like a big, ambitious, sometimes goofy, but passionate video game theme park to play around in, basically. If you can put up with some BS here and there and are okay with great gameplay, but not a very compelling story, at least so far, then you'll have a blast in this world, man. Fun combat, rewarding exploration. The game does not hold your hand. It gives you a generous amount of game and content and great music and visuals. I've really enjoyed my time here. Now, keep in mind, this is a massive game, like just staggeringly big. One of the biggest we've seen in a long time, and this is just going to be our first impressions here. We've been playing a review copy, and this footage is captured running on PC and is spoiler free. The footage you see here only scratches the surface as we keep it to early stuff to avoid spoilers. Now, another disclaimer about footage here. This is the PC footage. We did not get our hands on console version of the game. And I've seen a lot of questions out there about the quality of console graphics and what players on Xbox Series S, X, PlayStation 5 base, like what they can expect. And so we're not messing around this time. Keep your eyes peeled for that. When the game launches, as soon as it launches, we're going to get to work capturing footage on those other consoles to show you guys. Essentially, we're going to do a second before you buy video. That's going to be a summary of some of what I say here, but with a lot of extra thoughts and lots of gameplay for those console versions so you can see for yourself and make sure that everything is copacetic, you know? Anyway, enough of that. First things first, Crimson Desert drops you into this medieval fantasy world filled with knights, kings, maidens, goblins, monsters, dragons, and then weirder stuff like some crude robotics and high fantasy technologist stuff. You play as Cliff. He is a warrior of the Greymanes, one of many factions in this world. And after being killed by a rival faction, you're revived by an otherworldly force and thrust back into the world, but with some superpowers. In the early hours of the game, it's up to you to just get your bearings, reunite with your Greymanes, build a camp and a home, and then go out on a bigger adventure.
Listen, it's called Connect Team, and it's insane. I don't do schedules or timesheets manually anymore.
And it works?
Oh, like you wouldn't believe it. My team puts in their availability, I click auto schedule, and boom, there it goes. No more Excel.
Now, I'm going to rip the band-aid off here with a negative, but for me personally, the first like 8 hours or so of this game are not good at all. It gets much, much better after that. Like, it really picks up. Now, I know hearing that, I know some JRPG fans know what I'm talking about, but for some people, this might come as a shock. The game just has so many gameplay systems and mechanics that it takes hours to slowly introduce you to all of it. Like it trickles out. And even then, it actually manages to gloss over some things. There's going to be stuff that they don't explain to you. Look, if a game has a lot and it takes a lot of time to explain it all, that could be fine. I guess it's not the game's fault. It's just that the quests they give you here, the things you need to do are all just pretty boring. The game has a lot of weird, nonsensical moments that feel like disjointed, like stuff was cut from the game, or maybe it's just put in place to like annoy you or slow you down. Your motivation is basically very little, and the game gives you minimal story reasons to really care at the outset. I was nervous, kind of thinking to myself, like, you know, what's the big deal with this game? This seems kind of lame. But I stuck with it, and once this game opens up, it really opens up, and it's a ton of fun. Fun, expressive combat that makes you feel powerful while keeping the game challenging. Loads of variety to it. The ability to play as other characters with their own unique spins, and then you switch to them GTA 5 style. There's base building, crafting, fishing, mining, bounty hunting, mounts, robots, jetpacks, riding dragons, weirder and weirder enemies. This is a game where the developers threw the kitchen sink at you. You could do tons of stuff. And I've talked about games like this before. But the difference with a lot of other games we've mentioned in the past that take this approach, here in Crimson Desert, most of it doesn't feel cynical or half-assed or including so much just to check boxes. Most of the systems here are done right and they feel good and are nicely implemented, down to like chopping a tree down or placing a table in your house, to the feel of a parry or horseback controls. But the biggest thing, I think, is combat. There's a lot you could do here with it just because the moveset slowly builds over time. You have a block, parry, light attack, heavy attack. You very quickly get a kind of force push ability that expands into more, and you think that's it. It sounds pretty simple, but the moveset expands greatly through your magical abilities, but also through a pretty damn solid skill tree with lots of different things to unlock. As much as it's a very hack and slashy style game, there's a surprising amount of like ability combos you can stack on one another and just pull off some really cool shit that makes you feel powerful. The strike of a sword, a parry, all of that feels really good. The way Cliff will rend his sword into someone and pop the sword out with like a little flash of gore and the enemy flying away, it's just satisfying. And again, as the moveset expands, this just gets more and more fun. The game is happy to throw tons of enemies at you and let you go hog wild. If you want to use a bow and arrow to snipe out some guys and stealth around, that's fine. The stealth is a little weak, but at the very least, when you crouch and move around, the map adapts to show you enemies' vision cones, which is cool. But, typically I would thin the herd a little bit and then go all out with combat. If you're like me, you're going to be playing and you're probably going to end up like unlocking things and then using them a lot. Like, getting the ability to throw dudes, eventually getting the ability to like chokeslam clothesline dudes. But then more massive magical abilities like a ground pound and just like all kinds of effects you can stack on one another. So again, combat with a pretty simple, straightforward foundation that gets surprisingly complex. And that's a big part of what I'm saying here is like, when the game really opens up, it gets a lot more fun because you get to just do all this wild stuff. And how all these systems, again, starting with small foundations and building upon that, all kind of lead to fun player experimentation. The game's not holding your hand, it's letting you just figure out what you can do, how capable you are just by messing around, kind of like figuring out your favorite tricks in like, Tears of the Kingdom or something like that. The game has a lot of moments that hit the same way. Not to mention the fact that like while Cliff is very much a sword and shield type of guy, you do have some weapon variety there as well, and then switching to other characters to get another different flavor of combat. They don't feel half-assed. They all have their own movesets that are fairly well thought out. As much as Cliff is the one you're going to stick to, these characters don't feel like an afterthought gameplay-wise, at least from what I have encountered so far. The combat's really strong, but also like the movement, which then encourages the exploration. Running around as Cliff is great. You have a stamina meter, and you can upgrade that slowly over time, thanks to that good skill tree I mentioned earlier, but Cliff also has this like really cool glide ability, and then it's not just a glide ability because you can upgrade that to do a variety of things like rocket forward, and again that relies on your stamina, so the more you upgrade that the better. But riding on horseback is really good because not only can you engage in combat while on the horse, but the horse has a drift ability and the horse can be upgraded itself. It can also be outfitted with different loot. They really thought of a lot here. Everything has a little subsystem, and in terms of loot and stuff like that, so far I've really enjoyed how it all works. works, how it all goes down. You visit lots of shopkeepers, there's tons of resources, and getting different loot feels substantial. You get to very quickly outfit Cliff with a lot of interesting stuff, and not only that, you get to upgrade those things over time at a smithy. So if you have a sword you really like, you can lean into it for a while by upgrading it. You know, you have your head, your cloak, your armor set, your gauntlets, your feet.
EVE Online is a vast universe, alive with the unrelenting activity and combined history of its players. Pursuing lives of adventure, warfare, and prosperity, they share this existence in the biggest single shard, free-to-play MMO of all time. Set 21,000 years in the future, EVE takes place in a distant cluster.
And then along with that, you can also dye certain parts of all these clothing items for an added little bit of customization. And again, all this loot, all this stuff from like visually to just the feel of it, it all feels substantial enough that I found myself very carried along by it. I was very fixated on getting better stuff. Because the game world is so massive, you're going to want to explore because you're constantly going to be stumbling upon weird stuff. And I found myself very frequently just looking for that next thing or just picking stuff up and trying to understand it. That being said, like the loot system and like the inventory system is a little messy. There are some limitations for first couple of hours that are going to really frustrate you, even just some storage overall, some questionable decisions, as well as just the way it's organized on your HUD in your inventory screen. Some of that stuff I wish was a little stronger, a little less messy, because some of it can be pretty frustrating. But again, when you're out there and you're looking for stuff, one of the best aspects is also how this ties into faction quest lines and stuff like that. So you get all these missions, they're all broken down by factions, side stuff, bounties, the main quests, and you know how that branches. But a lot of the town areas have their own special place where you essentially get to cash in all the goodwill you've earned by doing side quests for random citizens. These special contribution shops are like their own separate currency. You earn contribution points by leveling up these quests and stuff like that. So you're actually able to get some really cool special loot from these contribution shops, meaning it actually entices you to want to pick up those random side quests. You see some little goofy guy on the side of the road with a problem, you want to help him because it'll contribute to that currency, and then you'll get cooler stuff. So just like a good loop in terms of encouraging you to do quests, encouraging you to look for loot, and it's great in a world this big. I haven't seen all of it, but it is incredibly dense. A lot of biomes, but a lot of sub-biomes as well that are just insanely detailed. The draw distance in this game, and I know I'm playing on a high-end PC, but even still, the draw distance in this game, the distance, the detail you could see far off, is unlike anything I've seen in a game before. This game, when you start walking around and exploring, it really does feel like this kind of next generational leap from a technical standpoint, and just the amount of stuff crammed in it.
You really did ask for it.
And I say that as somebody who is pretty burnt out on open world games. Enough. These games are endless, they're massive sometimes, and it's ridiculous. But I was just surprised how well Crimson Desert really strung me along and kept me looking for that next place. Part of it is the visuals, like how great it looks, but it's also just how it feels. There's something to how the world feels that just like keeps you in it. While it does feel like a nice technical leap forward, it still has video game issues. Moment-to-moment controls on the ground can be a little finicky sometimes. Like, when you're just walking around, selecting small objects on the ground to pick up, it can be incredibly tedious. And sometimes you'll miss clicking on something and you'll jump instead because it's the same button. It can get annoying, combined with a camera that I'm still not completely comfortable with. it really has a mind of its own. It's very often showing more of the world in front and above my character more than focusing on the character itself. Sometimes it zooms in inexplicably. There is a button where you can switch between different viewing distances of this camera, but none of them really felt quite right for me because, again, they really did whatever they want and they would get stuck on things or they just, they wouldn't show what I wanted it to show. Not to mention that during combat, it can also be really annoying. There is a lock-on button, but sometimes that will actually work to your detriment as well. So you got to constantly kind of be aware of the camera. And that's a little crazy when you're also dealing with so many other things. Like I mentioned, the combat, as it builds, can be pretty complex, specifically because one of the main abilities the game gives you is like Ultra Hand from Tears of the Kingdom. So you're able to shoot out this grappling hook, which eventually you can kind of use it as a grappling hook. But at the start, it is essentially this big giant hand grabby thing that you can grab enemies, you can manipulate the environment and what have you, and that just adds a whole other layer to the complex controls. Most of the time it works pretty well, but it can be kind of overwhelming, especially with, and again, like when you're really getting the ropes in this game, like the game.
All right, man. All I know is let's try it. Cause I might crash. I ain't gonna lie. It's 3 p.m. Bro, are you dead ass? It's not fucking ready at 3? I must be mistaken. Pause. Pause and then play. What the fuck? Bro. Oh man, I ain't never been so goddamn irritated. Like, what is the point of saying it releases on the 19th to drop it at 3 p.m.? Nigga, drop it at 12! What the fuck? This is bullshit. Hey, go sit down, boy. I don't get this shit, man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Seriously. We're not releasing it on time. You know what I'm saying? So now, guys, this just means we gotta wait till 6 p.m. Apparently, Pacific time is releasing at 3, and Eastern Pacific time is releasing at 6 p.m. They hold us. They hold me. Bro, I already said, bro, I'm already in a race with other streamers trying to play the bit. Like, man. I don't believe in magic in a young girl's heart, bro, because this is bullshit. Like, oh my goodness. I might as well not even be upset, huh? Huh? Hey, bro. Hey. Crazy. Like, this shit is crazy, bro.